Welcome to Sports Join. I'm Kushagra, and today we are here for a Manchester City transfer review. We have Srinivas, the resident City fan here, making his debut on TST. Welcome, Srinivas. We're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, man. How are you guys doing?
We're all doing well. We have the regular, and they'll have enough rival opinions as far as City is concerned. Hope you two are doing well, guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so let's go.
Cutting,
Just out of depression.
Cutting right to the chase. Cutting right to the chase. I think every video starts with Anurag talking about depression. I think eventually we fund me page for Anurag, and all the psychiatric and psychological help.
I'm just one of those poor middle class guys who can't afford psychiatrist, and at the same time, my father would say no to a psychiatrist. So
I think a lot of United fans need a lot of mental help and with their mental health.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay. Lest we forget, it's a Man City transfer review, guys. So we'll start with the City fan. I think as always, you guys did not have the best league season last year, and ended up finishing. Couldn't defend your title, though. I don't know. It's difficult for others to blame the squad, considering the insane seasons, the 2 seasons, City squad had, and season. So there's no real shame as such, finishing second to that team. But as is I guess ambition of the City group and of Man City as a club as well. I'm sure they're always going for all domestic honors and European honors as much as they can. So club this year must be to regain that title, and in that sense, you've made some interesting signings. I'd like your opinions on these guys. On Ruben not played yet, so it'll be difficult for you to judge him in the English league. But Nathan Ake, you've seen him, last few years at Bournemouth, before that at Chelsea as well. I think I would love for you to educate our viewers around Ferran Torres, because I don't think that many people saw him at Valencia. So how do you make of it? How do you make of City's incomings? And we can discuss the outgoings a little later. But how do you think the club has done during the window?
Okay, so I'd like to start with Ruben Dias, because I think the cause of concern for City fans was the defense. Our defense was shambolic last season. I mean, first of all, what happens is, because we spend so much money and because we won titles back to back, what happens is that opposition fans that don't really aren't as lucky as us, considering that the business side of things, Manchester United, that's my first dig, by the way. They always look at you like, oh, you have so many players. Why do you, I used to talk about how we really needed a replacement for Vincent Kompany. We needed 2 centre-backs, according to me, last season. And there were lots of, that's not true. John Stones is perfectly good as a 4th centre-back and this and that. And first of all, I mean, I didn't particularly want a Vincent Kompany who can never replace quality like that, because it's more than just footballing ability. Because what Vincent Kompany means to us is, you can't really put that into words. You know what I mean? I think one like that, Gerrard, but I think getting someone like Ruben Dias is a huge thing, because last season, sure, we didn't have Laporte, but to me, I don't necessarily want a partner for Laporte. I want someone who can handle a defense if Laporte gets another ACL, that happens, and that just could not happen last year. We had an aging Fernandinho playing defense, which was, I mean, you can't really blame him because that's not his position. Also, he was like 30, and Nicolas Otamendi was just, I mean, I don't want to disrespect the guy because he left the club, but he was an absolute champion.
He had a horrific debut for Benfica.
I'm not surprised that a centre back pairing of Jan Vertonghen and Nicolas Otamendi, the wrong side of 30 is not working. But yeah, so I'm digressing a little, of course, but it's important to give context about last season, because last season, what used to happen was, and that's where Liverpool are such a brilliant play, and sometimes you're like, hey, they're not playing that brilliantly, but they always get the win, and that's all that matters. I'm not one of those people who talks about, they didn't deserve to win. Points you deserve to win. It's as simple as that. Football's about winning, right? So what used to happen was we used to outplay teams, but we just used to draw or get like an unfortunate loss. So I think Diaz to the roster is very important. Obviously, 64 million. Otamendi went the other way, 13.7. So all in all, it's a pretty good deal. But still a young player. He's 23 years old. I know in a footballing context, people expect them to become the next Mbappe's, but that's not really very realistic. And the hype around Ruben Diaz has died a little because Benfica, I mean, they're not doing that well in the Portuguese league. They constantly miss out on Champions League spots, and it's all Ruben Diaz is a top centre back, but the partners that he has are either very old or young players, and that's why the hype's
Yeah.
died down because sometimes his numbers don't do the justice to his actual quality. I don't think he's a world class centre back yet, and he isn't going to slot in and change everything. But it definitely main priority. Obviously, we had Koulibaly and Jules Koundé. I would have loved Koulibaly, but I don't know why we haggled over the price. There were valuation issues someday. But yeah, I think Ruben Dias is a good signing. He's 6'2", of course, 23 years old. He's touted to be the next Portugal captain. So yeah, that's a 5-on-5 signing for me. Like that's a top signing. So I'm super happy with that. I have no complaints. And with you asked me about educating you on Ferran. I'll admit I don't watch the La Liga very often because I don't like to watch games on Facebook or log into Facebook anyway. But as far as to me, from what I've seen, see, 3 games is a very he started one Premier League game, right, and came off the bench in the other two against Bournemouth in the League Cup, if I'm not wrong, and in the game against Burnley.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen last season, so last season he as a right winger, right? He can play on both wings, of course, but I think what he adds to the City team is pace, and that's what I want to see most. A lot of rival fans would be thinking, why do you really need a winger? You have Sterling, who's elite. You have Mahrez, who's brilliant as well. But to me, we need pace because see, we build up in midfield, right? So you need a certain amount of explosiveness up top. And what used to happen with City was back in the day, our wingers used to be David Silva, believe it or not, and Samir Nasri. And they were brilliant, super creative, but there was no pace, which is why we bought someone like Sterling, who struggled to know what he's done. And we also bought Jesus Navas, who was, I mean, pathetic. But the point was for us to have a lot of pace on the break. And we sold Navas off, we got Leroy Sane. And that's why those wings really worked properly because we used to have these explosive wingers who were super direct. With someone like Riyad, even though he is one of my favorite players to watch at City, he just holds the ball up a lot. He slows the game down. In any case, we overplay a lot. Used to do where we want to score the perfect goal. We want to literally tap it into the net. And someone like Ferran Torres brings that directness. My issue with him is that not that he looks a little timid because that's expected. New country, can't really speak the language. Even I noticed in the tunnel, his body language is a little timid at the minute, but that's expected. But I think on the right wing, I'd rather see Raheem Sterling play there because when he played on the left against Burnley in the League Cup, he looked really good. Looked more direct on the right. I just feel that he's not that he needs to cut inside, but I just feel he'd be a better crosser on the left. He's looked better. And yeah, he did play on the left last season, not the right. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think Raheem Sterling had a bit of a bad patch last season for a good 2 months that a lot of people didn't even notice. That was on the left because we didn't have a winger who could deputize on the left, so he didn't get the chance to play on the right. Which is why when Foden plays, for example, he can switch wings. So yeah, I think Ferran Torres is definitely a very good signing. Whether he's going to be a hit or a flop, of course, I can't really say because Valencia was an absolute mess last year. Again, his numbers don't do him the justice they should, and but I think Ferran Torres is certainly a very good signing, one for the future. £50, I mean, that's nothing in today's market for such a young player. Spanish international, of course, starts for Spain. Didn't last night, but mostly does. So yeah, I'd be really happy with these 2 signings for sure.
Yeah, and it's not just the numbers as you said. You told us about Valencia being a mess. If you just had Valencia fans, how pissed off they were with Ferran being sold, because I think Peter Lim owns Valencia, and he's probably one of the he's competing with the Glazers to be one of the ball as well. So they made a mockery out of that historic club there at Valencia, and Ferran Torres is rated really highly. In the Spanish setup, in the Valencia setup. Right? Sorry?
The price was significantly low as well, I think.
Yeah,
what I remember.
It is bollocks. Yeah, Nothing.
Yeah.
For a 21-year-old, who's got the potential to be one of the top 5, top 6 wingers in the world, it's nothing. It's really
Yeah.
nothing. I mean, really good business by City. Sushil, Srini told us about this. He told us about the defensive, sort of plagued City, and I think that has been the case all throughout, not just with City. We've seen a lot of top teams struggle defensively, and in the 2 seasons, especially the 2 seasons the City were playing well, I felt the one of the important aspects of the team, as Srinivas mentioned himself. Of course, Vincent Kompany cannot be replaced. You cannot, he probably City's greatest player of all time. In my
and one of the
understanding,
Premier League's best defenders of all time, I
yeah,
think.
one of the Premier League's best defenders. In my humble opinion, it's not just it's the person, it's the personality,
The
it's the
leadership,
leadership and everything. And I can see him, if not become a manager, I think we can see him becoming a massive football or something like that at Manchester City in the future. If he doesn't become the president or prime minister of Belgium or something like that, because I think that guy is insane.
Yeah.
So fantastic player and fantastic individual as well. But he left, and there was a huge, massive hole. You must remember that Leicester goal as well did last season. That insane hit from like what 35 yards. Yeah. Don't shoot Vinny. So one song company, he mentioned about Sami Nasri and David Silva as well.
Yep.
Couldn't help but think about Zabaleta and Clichy. At that point, they were good enough to go up and down, up and down, up and down. I think that was one of the reasons these guys had wingers who could cut in and who were technically so good. Do you also in the fullback area that City maybe need to strengthen more, or maybe just need to try different combinations there?
Assessment of the two fullbacks that are currently starting for City, right? So you have Mendy and then you have Walker on the right. They're both good players. They're both really good players. In fact, Kyle Walker is one of the most explosive players in the Premier League. But there's still something lacking, and it really shows me on defense sometimes. I think they struggle to cope. I don't know if it's because of the system. Maybe Srinivas can elaborate on that later. I don't know if it's because of their own deficiencies. I think there are some gaps when it comes to the way the fullbacks play. I don't know if Guardiola can fix that, replace these players. But you're right. I think that's one thing that probably could have been addressed, but it's not like they haven't spent in that department. And my guess is Guardiola is just happy with these guys, right? So in that sense, I'd say fullback wasn't as major a concern for Guardiola as the centre back position was. And in terms, when you told me Manchester City transfer review, the first thing I went and checked, even before I looked at the stats for the incoming players, was what was their injury record. Because that's something that City really struggle with. They get in really excellent players, and then they just don't play. They're out for the season. Leroy Sané sometime, Gundogan, Mendy was out. Yeah. So it's not that these players are bad. It's just that Guardiola doesn't have them a lot of time. So I think that was one thing that I was looking at with these guys. So fortunately, both Ruben Diaz, Ferran Torres, Nathan Ake as well, apart from the initially in his career, I think all of them have pretty solid injury records, so that's a good sign. And in terms of the quality of the signings itself, I had concerns about Guardiola's defensive coaching in the past. I don't want to get into that again. But if you look at the players that they have in their roster, they're good. I think they'll probably do the job that needs to be done of them. But again, a lot of it depends on how Guardiola takes care of them. Ferran Torres at length. I think he's a great player. That's all I'll say about him. And like Srinivas was saying about Valencia last season, performing well in that situation shows the guy's mentality too. So overall, if I had to give them a rating out of 10, I'd say 7. Similar to what I was saying about Liverpool, if they had, Koulibaly, I would have given them a 10. But, Ruben Diaz is a good back. Nathan Ake is a decent backup, so works for me.
I think seven or an eight is basically in a way the best you can do in most windows. Nines
Yeah.
and tens are just rare in the transfer market. With the jersey you're wearing, Anurag, I guess minus nines and minus tens are the general norm. So yeah, as an unfortunate, how do you look at the City business? You think the gap this time? I think the City United gap was 15 points last year. So I think you can expect a 35 point.
Yeah, this I don't want to get into a specific number because the numbers that I have in mind, it's only going to get me furthermore depressed. So let's not talk about that. So talking purely from a business point of view, I think I don't know how many of you, how many even Srinivas would believe this or not, but I definitely get a feeling. This is what I said in the last video when we talked about Manchester City, that the clock might be ticking for Pep Guardiola because the investments that have come in. I mean, you see Donald Trump making that investment on his defense, and you see City making the investment on their defense. It's huge. Sorry about that, but see, the investment is huge. The defense investment is huge, and again, after such huge investments, you expect quite literally Jose Mourinho Chelsea sort of a performance. I mean, at least when the investment goes up, the objectives go up as well, right? At least from a basic, from a layman point of view. But getting deep into it, Ruben Diaz, I think it's a good signing. You know what I do when a new player is signed by any of the big clubs, just what a most random fans would do: go to YouTube, Ruben Diaz skills. Search that, and there'll be plenty of channels who already announced Ruben Diaz welcome to Manchester City. It was I saw this a day before he was announced by City, and I saw the same for Ferran Torres as well. So yeah, I think that the directness that Srinivas was talking about, I think that is one area where we are going to see maybe City scoring even more goals. I think this is one season I feel City can really burst the onion bags with the American phase, which Clive Tildesley was mentioning. So yeah, I don't see plenty of problems, but when they come on the pitch, I think then there is some sort of loop. I don't know. It's because the players play so high. Uh, it's sort of confusing sometimes, maybe because I don't watch City a lot. I do like more like I don't watch most rival fans as keenly as I would watch a United team. But as we saw in the Lyon game, I think they were caught exposed. And I one thing I can never frame an opinion on Benjamin Mendy. I think there are some games where he's really, really doing his job very well, but there are some games where he's really getting caught up with some of the not so great wingers as well. I can understand Adama Traore absolutely pocketed him. I think that is fine. That guy is a beast. Now you can't really if you are trying to go one on one with him, it's obviously you're going to get into trouble. If you remember that 3-2 game, which Wolves came from 2-0 down to win 3-2, the third goal, especially, I think Benjamin Mendy, I don't know what in world he was trying to do. He was trying to dribble past Traore or something, and Traore absolutely robbed him of like some senior in a school robbing tiffin of a junior. It was so bad. Uh, so yeah, there are some issues like this. There is a certain amount of there's a certain element of inconsistency, and I don't think right back is an issue for any club in Premier League right now. Every team has one proper English right back, and as Gary Lineker said, they can literally make a national if the all teams are putting all their right backs. I think England would win that World Cup quite easily because they have so many. So I don't think even that is a problem. Maybe Fernandinho playing centre back was the real big issue last season. We saw that against Chelsea in the game where Liverpool were crown champions. So yeah, these are I think that is now sorted that with Ruben Diaz and Ake. I hope Fernandinho plays in the position where we saw the masterful Fernandinho over the years. So I expect them to do well, but again, the start has been very shaky. Uh, it has been the same for most teams besides Everton. So even Everton, I think they are going to face a downside going forward. So I think there's everything to play for. The points gap between Liverpool and City, I don't expect it to be as significant as it was before. Uh, but definitely this points gap between United, Liverpool, and City is going to be far, far brutal this time.
Yeah,
I-
talking.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sorry.
carry on.
No, I was going to ask Srinivas, what role do you think Fernandinho is going to play this season?
Yeah,
Is
I
he
think
going to
So
be?
just adding on to that question,
Yeah.
Srinivas, we were
there's
discussing
Rodri
this
as well.
prior
Yeah,
to the record. Of course. Fernandinho has been white. But how do you rate Rodri now that he's completed a full season? And what are your opinions on Gundogan and other players? I feel City did need a new defensive midfielder. If not this season, they will need one next year. So how do you view that?
Right. So I was you guys talk. Obviously, you guys made some good points, but I'm thinking of like addressing all of these things so that like you sort of know where I'm coming from because obviously I'm a
Yeah.
fan.
yeah, yeah.
So let's right. So Kyle Walker, at Spurs, Kyle Walker was like a beast going forward because Mauricio Pochettino used to have his fullbacks bombing for very, very different city where you're practically the thing is that what Pep wants is for the winger and the fullback to not be in the same line because occupying the same city not good in an attacking sense as well because even when the fullback and the winger doubles down, often you see the fullback anyway. The winger
Yeah.
makes the run down the line, and that's how it sort of works in any case. But it's more extreme with Pep because what happens is that because City plays such someone like Walker or someone like Delfo Zinchenko, back when they used to play left back, used to be very vital when teams used to counter us because it used to help that Delfo and Zinchenko were midfielders by trade anyway. I say were because they used to play for us then, not now, at left back. Yeah, I think as Sushil mentioned, our injury record is pretty Arsenal-esque, where it's like Gundogan had a supreme season at Dortmund. Like his last season was amazing. He
Yeah.
didn't get injured. I still remember he was amazing. I used to watch Dortmund regularly, and choice that season was phenomenal, right? And we got the guy, and I still remember Paul Scholes, talking about how Gundogan is actually a better sign than Paul Pogba because you can debate that, and you can debate, over how good a pundit Paul Scholes is. I won't say anything because he's a god to you guys, but Ilkay ACL in his first season as well. People forget that. And while Ilkay Gundogan does frustrate me a lot, I do think he's a very useful player. And sometimes when a manager uses a player in a certain way, if a player doesn't have the best game, can you really blame the player? You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, so for example, I still remember. I mean, this is a great memory for you guys. But when Rashford nutmegged Martin Demichelis
Oh,
and slaughtered keeper, and I remember I went on the Football Republic, if you remember.
yeah, the
If you remember
TFR,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, OG YouTube connoisseurs know what I'm talking about. But
yeah.
like, yeah, fan show, and I know I'm digressing, but basically what I talked about then was that I was mad at Demichelis for making the error and for sliding in, but at the same time, I know Martin Demichelis defender anyway, and if you put him up against like a a wizard like Rashford, there's only going to be one result. And I would rather have back then. I still remember Piania as a centre back because I'd rather my manager take a risk and we lose
Then
than
yeah.
him not even think 2 steps ahead and we lose because I know we're going to lose with the Martin Demichelis. I can't even say that he's a rubbish centre back or anything. No disrespect, but yeah. So anyway, with our fullbacks, what the issue is that Kyle Walker is excellent. What happens when we get countered on? You have to remember that it's very important to give Fernandinho his flowers because he is an absolute beast.
yeah.
And he's not just someone who wins the ball, he is
Passing as well.
someone who wins the ball and he will, give the most beautiful through pass and then he
True.
will, tackle. People used to talk about how N'Golo Kante is here and Fernandinho is like here, and that's just not true. I'm not disrespecting
No.
Kante here. Kante is unreal, but I mean, let's not forget that there's other players in this league who've been at that level, and Fernandinho used to be that. That's why the struggle with United at the minute that I mentally is that when you try to play 2 3 8s, you need to have a DM who can sweep everything up. So I know Liverpool don't play that system, but having someone like Fabinho is excellent because
Exactly.
Fabinho is just masterful.
Yeah, in the
Isn't he?
shield.
Kante in his, yeah, N'Golo Kante in his prime. Now David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne used to put in a lot of work, but with Rodri's really good. Rodri's really good at smelling danger, very good technician, great passer, have the engine that Fernandinho has, and you can't really blame him for that because that's very rare. If that wasn't, everyone would have a Kante in their team, but it is a problem. So when you see us, conceding goals when there's a lot of space, what happens is, say Walker is in midfield, if Rodri loses the ball, it's 3 against 2 or something like that. So that's the problem. So the problem isn't Rodri in the sense that he's not good. It's just that he's not fun. For us to expect him to be Fernandinho is also a little unfair, but it's very frustrating. So I think what City need, and Sushil would love this point, is a Jordan Henderson-esque player. People often ask, what does Jordan Henderson do? What's his role? He doesn't. He's not a cam. CM. What is he? He is for me, he is a holding midfielder. As the name suggests, he holds things. He stabilizes things. He's not gonna get your headlines for making a changing tackle. He's not gonna put a through pass like say Kevin De Bruyne does. But he'll stabilize things. He'll communicate. He'll take up zones where say he gets on the right because Trent bombs forward. So we need a holding midfielder. We have a young player who goes by the name of Tommy.
Yeah.
It'll be very tough to develop him. He's a young lad, obviously not very strong and all that. And obviously, with the investment we've made, expertly pointed out, Donald Trump-esque investment. You can't afford to play youngsters sometimes because if you do mess up, what happens is people will blame you and then they'll be like, oh, you threw the youngster under the bus, what's happening. And at the same time, if you don't, you get criticism. So is someone I'd like for us to, create into this holding midfielder. But at the minute, we don't have many solutions because see, Fernandinho is 35 years old. He's not even Lionel Messi is gonna have a day where he's not gonna be as good. He's a human being. So what happens is Fernandinho, even now, he is good. He is of course he is. But what happens is because Rodri and Fernandinho are so deep, lots of times the passes Fernandinho has to make to the wingers. I mean, the wingers are so that he does misplace a pass and then we do get counted on. And he doesn't have the legs anymore to do that job. And also, he's never played in a double pivot. You have to consider these things. So for me, Fernandinho, while he is our club captain, I would rather not play him in a double pivot because finding solutions for my team that are going to be there for the next 5-6 years, honestly. Because Fernandinho, I think this is going to be his last year. So I don't want to rely on him, and then we get another guy, and it's a whole like for example, if we got a Thomas Partey, he would be excellent alongside Rodri, as well as play role because he has such an engine on him and he's such an excellent passer. For example, Lucas Torreira, in a defensive sense, would be excellent for us, but because he's not a great passer, he doesn't plans as well. So defensively, we need that sort of stability, which is why, as I mentioned, a Fabinho would be excellent. That's why this season I wouldn't be surprised if this season. It's not because Phil Foden is not a good player. It's because our midfield isn't up to scratch. So because of our defensive frailties. So
Srinivas, before we get into something else, so we're specifically talking about CDM and how important that position is. But what is your opinion on Benjamin Mendy? I mean, as I said, he confuses me a lot. So what is your take on him?
See, first of all, we have to talk about how the guys got 2 ACLs.
Back to back.
ACL,
Exactly.
back to back. To get one ACL injury, and people always, I want to mention this because lots of times footballers get stick for being injured and just staying at home and earning money. That's not what it's like. A rehab schedule is very. If you followed Hector Bellerin's schedule, you'll see it on his YouTube channel. He talks very candidly about how I mean, you just never get back. You grind all your life to reach that point, and a silly little injury that you pick up in your 20s can ruin you, and you're done. And I don't think money can replace that. You have to. When you criticize players, it's very easy to, say that he's earning this money, and if I was in his position, I'd do that and this. But realistically, most people their normal roles in their daily lives. So with Benjamin Mendy, I don't like to be very harsh because injuries are the worst thing to happen to a footballer because lots of times they are unavoidable. because you don't train hard enough. It's because you have some sort of a muscle issue. And lots of muscle issues do come up in your mids. We're gonna have it, everyone has it, right? So Benjamin Mendy, he does frustrate me a lot, because for me, what happened was in his first season he got injured. We saw a little glimpse, and he was an absolute superstar at Monaco. 18-19, he starts at left back, and I still remember Leroy Sané got benched. And personally, I used to be a huge. I wanted him to start, but Mendy was so good that he used to absolutely dominate that flank to the point where I couldn't justify why Sane should start. Couldn't, because they take up the same zones. Mendy has what, 5 assists in 3 games? How can I justify Sane starting? His crossing won't be aimless crossing. His crossing, okay, we're actually going to score a goal right now. So what my concern is, and which is why this is not an amazing transfer window, is that a to compete with Mendy or to usurp Mendy, because Zinchenko was a very short-term solution. He is a number 10 by trade, by the way.
Yeah.
He came from
Did not know that.
Wow.
he came from Ukraine. He played for the Ukrainian club Ufa, if I'm not wrong, if that's how it's pronounced. Alexander Zinchenko is a number 10. Same with Fabian Delph. Fabian Delph used to be a central
Yeah,
defensive
CDM.
midfielder. So when people talk about, and look, I mean, I know Pep spent a lot of money, but context is very important. John Stones, forget the fact that he hasn't lived up to his potential. He got injured again just now. Like
Yeah.
he's back in training, but he got injured again. So he's super injury prone. Plus he has issues off the pitch. Plus you can just clearly see that he's very. Almeric Laporte we bought superstar, got injured, right? Mendy we bought superstar, got injured twice. He has lost his legs. So like Benjamin Mendy's USP is that he's super good crosser, attacks super well. He's lost his legs in 3 games. I can see that there's no hope, in the sense that he that pace is a central part of his game, but you can just clearly see when a player's lost his legs, and he has, and he was never great defensively anyway. So now, for like just pretty much any winger to beat him, because his legs are pretty gone. And you
Yeah.
add that to the fact that I think mentally, I think his concentration is just not the best. You saw in the Leeds game, he was excellent in the first half, and then he makes an error at the end, and then Luke Ayling misses a goal. And when he got his yellow card in the first half, that's not because he's a bad defender, because he can't run enough. So he just puts in a silly tackle, gets a yellow card, gets subbed, at 60 minutes, gets sent off. Pep knows that as well. So with Benjamin Mendy, I would sell him next season. The reason why we didn't sell him is because there's this hope amongst us. He got injured twice, but maybe this season he does bits, and he does really well. But he's not a profitable asset at the minute. Why would someone invest who gets injured all the time? And I've seen him play what, 12, 13 times. Like seriously, I'm not counting league cups and everything like that. I haven't seen him play that much, even as a City fan. But yeah, I mean, we our problem is at left back, which is why I didn't talk about Nathan Ake. Just focus signings, but Nathan Ake would be crucial, because he may not bomb up and down the pitch, because not only because he's not a great attacker, because he's a defender, but the best ball carrier anyway. But I think what he will bring is not just the versatility, but the ability to sort of play that midfield hybrid role when Delph used to.
Yeah, I think he can join the midfield and allow Walker to attack on that side, and then I think he can provide good balance to you guys.
Right. So and when he came on against Leeds, I was like, he instantly looks more solid. So with Benjamin Mendy, of course, it's not a sob story. It is a real issue, but I would 100% sell him next season. And we wanted to get Nicolas Tagliafico at the end of this window, but that never actually came to fruition. We couldn't sell Zinchenko. I mean, we offered him to Barca. Barca considered it, but didn't really actually go for him. But we couldn't sell off Zinchenko, so we didn't. That's how business someone, and you buy someone. Even a team like City, with all the funds they have, our net spend this season, because everyone likes to talk about that, is like 61 million. That's not bad at all. So
that's good actually. That's pretty good. With the business you've done, it's fantastic actually.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I mentioned Mendy was, both Mendy and Bernardo Silva come from that golden Monaco team, which, which could have gone and won the Champions League that season. And when the transfer happened, I really felt Benjamin Mendy is going to really bomb up the Premier League, and I was expecting more things from him than
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva. And things turned out differently, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
just
why I
thought,
was.
yeah. So sorry to interject, but like
Yeah,
I want to touch on Bernardo. So Bernardo, in his first season, he was super frustrating because he was very
yeah,
happen. Bernardo is a very. If Bernardo has a great season, I think I predicted City to win the league because I'm a fan. But if I turn on it, and Kushagra knows I mentioned it on our group as well, Liverpool all day because Liverpool are a great outfit and then they're so well coached. And when you add the players that they already have in Thiago, I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it? So
yeah,
with us, I think Bernardo is a very Bernardo is a very complicated case because in this comes to a new country, plays out on the right wing, struggles because he's a left-footed player. He's a little. He used to be a little predictable, even though he's an excellent dribbler. Maybe he used to be a little predictable. Next season plays the same role, but he was unbelievable.
yeah.
Like he was a Ballon d'Or candidate. It was
Indeed.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, again, I want to touch on this money thing, and I'm not denying that City spend money. First of all, we do, and lots of times our investment is shocking. But for us to be able to reach, always follow the money ball model. It just doesn't
It can't. It
work.
can't.
yeah,
It can't. That doesn't work.
It
Doesn't
just
work.
doesn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can understand why opposition City irritating, but at the same time, if your club is down in the dumps and they get a rich owner, they're not really saying no. Newcastle wouldn't have said no. So I mean, I know I'm mentioning something here, but with Bernardo, what the thing is that I would love him to play alongside Rodri. Now, the weird role because
Okay.
Bernardo usually plays on the right, but I saw Bernardo play a couple of games in midfield at the start of the 18-19 season, right? That's why I mentioned good coaching because we didn't have Kevin De Bruyne, the best player in the league, for a whole season, and we win the league with 98 points. Like that is ridiculous. So all about funds, is it? So it's a bit of both. If it was all about funding, a lot of teams would be somewhere else. So Bernardo Silva, I think there was this game 18-19 where they had a bit of a lead, and I think Leroy Sané scored the winner in that game. But Bernardo put in an absolute shift. He turned into N'Golo Kante. It was ridiculous. He was trying to win headers. He was trying to compete in the air with Van Dijk. It's ridiculous. And I know that's one game, and it may be naive to put him there. But last season as well, there were games where he played deeper in midfield, and when you look at options, I would rather play him than a Fernandinho, at least test him out because again he'd be a better ball carrier, more creative in that midfield. To have two midfielders doesn't work sometimes because even for a team like City, you do need creativity in the middle. So I think with a Bernardo, what the issue is very poor. He was very very poor. Like
Yeah.
I have to admit, he was a massive drop off. We were like, where's Bernardo? What happened to him? Bernardo was taking up. Leroy Sané was all over the place. He was our MVP, and last season he was really really poor. It was shocking. So if Bernardo Silva has a great season, he can deputize in midfield, which is super important, and he's also a bit of a, I don't want to use the word, but he's a bit of a shit house. And that really, you need one of those players in your teams that is a bit of a shit house. And even though he looks all, diminutive and not very physically imposing, he is a Mourinho-esque player in the sense that he will, put in a dirty tackle and, put his face right in front of refs and really complain and player. So I think if Bernardo Silva really has an expert season, I think that'd be amazing for us. So yeah.
All right. I may not disagree with you there at all. I think we already overshot the video time limit anyway, and I think this is a very interesting discussion.
yeah.
No, man, I
Yeah,
think
it's
this.
fine. That's fine.
I don't think. I think detailed discussions on a club because I think we've gone in depth on City's positives and comings as well, and then wherein you would as a fan like to improve. I think just a last couple of questions from these guys. I think one question each to you both will suffice. Just as a parting point from my end, what are your thoughts on Angelino? I don't know. I mean, why isn't he rated at City, or was his season just a flash in the pan in that sense? Because I never felt he got a fair chance at City, and I
He played
genuinely
against
feel like
Liverpool,
he is.
right? The game where they lost 3-0. He looked good in that game, yeah.
No, not just that one game. He looked
Yeah,
fantastic in the
what I remember.
Bundesliga all
Yeah.
throughout. Throughout the season, I think he was one of the best left backs in the Bundesliga. Davis being some like otherworldly, but in terms of mere mortal humans, he was really good. But I never felt he got his chance. I think he's. Don't you think he's better than Zinchenko at least? Like I think he'll be a better backup to Mendy than Zinchenko.
Is the question to me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Angelino is quite a complicated one. I used to be super excited about Angelino. I've known about him since I was in school because he was like rated prospects up there with Sancho and Phil Foden. And going forward, he's actually very good. So you have to make a distinction between a good footballer and someone who's good in their position. So, for example, I think David Luiz is a good footballer.
Yeah, not
he's
good
good
in his
technically,
position, yeah.
but he's not a good centre back at all, right? So that's me. Angelino is fast. Angelino is good on the ball. He's a very good crosser, and he was very good for Leipzig. But again, first of all, if you need to play Angelino as a left back, like as a left wing back, I mean, there's no.
All right.
I mean, it's like Marcos Alonso.
Yeah,
like, you just
got your point. Got your point.
Precisely.
He's not. Forget being a poor defender, but if you have, the physical stature of a 16-year-old, I mean, it really doesn't help. And it just doesn't work.
Fair
And
enough.
he looked good in the Liverpool game. I admit it. I was like, you know what? This is one positive we can take from the game. He looks good.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I told him because he would have been another left back for us. But he's just sometimes, when you watch a player and you just know what they're going to do, and it's so irritating. So you just know he's going to put it across, and you're just like, there's why we don't have like a Robert Lewandowski or like a Erling Haaland where he's go up and score a header. Why do you keep doing it? And he keeps doing it, and it's very. He has like a USP, and he just burns that into the ground. He is a good attacker, but it's very predictable.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with him. And defensively, he's just not good. He's not physically ready. Forget for the Premier League, from not physically ready. And that's my problem with him, is that, I know it may sound a little old school, but I do want my fullbacks to be sure they can put in crosses and go past people, but they should be able to defend. And Angelino just cannot defend. It's just that you've got to look at our defense as well. If Angelino makes an error, he has guys like Upamecano, Klosterman, and Limer behind him.
Yeah.
At City,
The back three helps.
City last season, you have, Otamendi and Fernandinho. Like Otamendi on his side, like he look worse how poor our defense is. With an Upamecano, he'll put in a tackle, you'll forget about him. Just like with an Alphonso Davies, as excellent as he is, I am a big fan. If he doesn't have cover for him on that side, sometimes you'll be like, hey, your recovery pace is not, rescuing you here. There's some problems in your game. So you've got to have center backs that my battery is messed up. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
you are very
we
much.
can. Don't worry. Click on with the.
You can still continue.
Yeah,
Actually.
no worries.
No. I'm okay.
Yeah, good. So, guys, Sushil, you had.
I got it.
Sushil,
I got it. Yeah.
you could add
Yes.
on to that while Srinivas is answering.
I have a yes or no question for Srinivas.
Can you guys hear me?
Will
Yes,
we can hear you?
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
So my question is, will Gabriel Jesus be the starting forward in Manchester City? Yes or no?
Tough question, isn't it? If it's a yes or no, I mean,
Yeah. Just-
man,
It depends, bro. I think it depends. It's tough to answer yes or no.
Can I explain a little?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what Gabby Jesus stick from us, like from City fans? Lots of it is unjust. Lots of it is just. I don't think Gabby Jesus fires you to 25 goals per season. I don't think so. I don't think he's an Aguero or a Robin van Persie where he may not touch the ball the whole game, gets a one-on-one chance, finishes, done, gets a goal. He's a goal finisher. He's never going to be that. He's going to get a lot of goals in all competitions. And I think he's one of the most complete forwards in Europe because he presses so well. he's for someone his size, he's very very strong, big game player. You saw him against Real Madrid, he was amazing. So lots physically he's great, but he's not gonna fire you to 25 goals. I mean, you talk about an Aguero replacement, again another player you can't replace, quote unquote, because he means so
Yeah.
much. But Gabby Jesus, I don't think will be able to do that. I would look at Erling Haaland next season. I think his release clause is always, someone says it's 63 million, it's 45 million. I don't know, but I would 1000% get Erling Haaland next season. In any case, when City are down, they cross the lines anyway. You might as well get a tall striker who can
Right.
actually head the ball.
And he can
Uh,
play. He can play. He can
I
play
oh
can.
yeah, he
very
can
well.
play. He can press.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He can press. The only thing is he looks a little gangly because of his long feet. He's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
just
But
like, oh,
once he
great.
gets going, he's
But
He's
insanely
he
fast.
insane. I think
is
he's so good on the ball.
unbelievable.
He can dribble. He can do a lot of things. He's very very good in close spaces.
For a guy that
Yep.
tall, he is very, very quick.
Yeah.
And most of Dortmund's goals happen where Sancho holds the ball up. Holland makes like a Usain Bolt type sprint on the left and just smashes it top. So I think having Erling, I would love to get Erling Holland. I would love Gabriel Jesus to stay with City and be a second striker, or be. He says himself that he is more of a left forward, and I agree with that. The best Gavi Jesus I've seen was at the Copa America where he played as a right forward. I do not think he's a number nine. He gets caught offside a lot of times. His finishing is not the greatest. I mean, lots of times his shot power is a bit basic, and he takes two or three chances to score all the time. He's not going to be one of those players who gets one chance, scores, bang, done. So to answer your question, as a number nine, as harsh as it sounds, I would rather not. So no.
Yeah. Okay.
But in this squad, yes.
Yeah. I think Gabriel Jesus. I think he's stuck in a hard place in that sense because I think that the level of player he is. I don't think unless City change this system, like they do a 180 in terms of the system of football that they play. I don't think Gabriel Jesus would fit, even if it is not Pep, even if it is Pep's successor in 4 years. Overall, the City with Soriano and Begiristan, I think they will want to continue a system of play. And if that is the system of play, Gabriel ever good he may be on the ball, however great he may be in the link up and everything else, just not lethal enough in front of goal. And I think for that you always like getting linked to people like Haaland, whoever is the new addition. I think even Werner, for that matter, would have been a good signing for you guys. I think Timo Werner's gone to Chelsea ground running, but I think he'll end up being a fabulous signing for them. So
we tried getting Werner, apparently, huh?
You did. Acha, we did not know that. I think we heard was the Liverpool.
We tried getting Werner, but he said no. And I think that's because he won't, which is fair, he won't get as much playing time as
Chelsea.
This time with two other strikers. So yeah, but Werner would be unreal.
Yeah. So yeah, all in all, I think we've been. Okay, I think we just lost Srinivas, have we? Or I think his video's off.
His videos are.
I think Srini, your video went. Anyhow. I think. Do we still have you on audio, Srini?
Yeah.
Oh, we have been back. Just as a last question, I think we've been very exhaustive with the City, discussion, and I think it's quite educating for all of us, and there are certain stereotypes that I think we are all plagued with while watching football. I think your opinions on Kyle Walker are bang on. I think we've been harsh on Kyle Walker over the last couple of years because keep comparing him to 2015. It's not fair. The guy's 30, 31. He was 25 back then when he moved to City, and he was insane. He was shoulders the best right back in the league for like 2 to 3 years under Poch, and again for 2 to 3 years under Pep. So you've got to give the guy his due. The season for City would go. What are your expectations? And I'll ask the two guys first, and I'd request for you guys to keep it brief. But what do you think? Where do you expect City to finish, Anurag? What do you think would be the outcome? Just give me a Premier League and maybe a Champions League.
Champions League. I think Champions League is going to be very difficult to predict. I just hope Pep Guardiola doesn't, overtry the way he did against Lyon. If that is not the case, again, they have the team. They really have the team to do anything. Eh, They really have the team to go and do a treble. No kidding. So it's down to the team. I think they do have a better shot at going all the way in the Premier League. But again, as you said, Liverpool might as well nick it again. So I would say second in the Premier League, and perhaps a quarterfinals or a semi-finals finish in the Champions League.
Sushil?
I think in the Champions League, I would not give them as much of a, how do I put it? Okay, so here's my problem with when people talk about City in the Champions League. There has been a semi-final, right?
Yeah.
And yet
Real
season
Madrid
after
won.
yeah, exactly. And season after season, people keep saying they're the favorites. They're the favorites.
Yeah,
I don't get that. I would get it if they lost in a final, and you build from there, right? That's understandable. I would say they'll probably do as well as they did last season. I don't think they're necessarily a much better team than they were last season, so I don't see any reason why they'll do much better in the so quarterfinals. Premier League, I think the gap will be much smaller this season. And looking at Liverpool's defensive frailties after the last game, it might be a little more competitive than people expect. So
yeah.
I'll still peg them for second or potentially first, depending on how.
Srinivas.
True.
I always expect my team to win the league because that's my hope. But if I had to actually put caveat to the fact that Pep lost his mother due to coronavirus, so
Yes.
he does look very, very down these days. So I mean, as much as I would love to race past Liverpool and everything like that, to add that as well, alongside our flaws anyway, and you add the fact that Liverpool are such an. I think we'll finish second, as the guys said. The gap won't be that big, but yeah, Liverpool are winning the league. Champions League again. Pep does overthink, and I have to add the fact that Pep overthinks every game. Pep overthinks a game against Port Vale. So I mean, I know that his overthinking is wrong, but he does overthink all the time. Overthink,
Yeah.
and it gets fucking results as well. Not defending him here because he does overthink and he does shoot himself in the foot. But against Real Madrid, he played Jesus as like a lock and it worked. So I mean, I don't know what to make of it. But yeah, Pep Guardiola definitely has a problem in the Champions League. Champions League again, quarterfinal, semi-final. I don't think we'll win it. And Premier League second. So yeah. And by the way, I think it's either Liverpool or Bayern for the Champions League, but I think Liverpool will win. I think Liverpool. So yeah.
I like how Kushavir's face is just.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I am
I
guessing
don't think that's
the power's lost.
All right.
I think
Yeah,
the
yeah.
power's lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess.
He's
Oh
back.
no, he's back.
He's back quite instantly.
Yeah.
Maybe
just
maybe Thiago is just bringing the Champions League from Bayern to Liverpool. You never know.
Oh yeah.
Let's hope so.
I'm sorry, Srinivas. I missed your predictions. I think.
He said the Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool might go all the way in the Champions League.
Oh, okay.
And Liverpool win the league.
Oh
as well.
come on! What a horrible prediction, man. Horrible.
No, it's either Champions League. It's either Liverpool or Bayern.
You start
think
the
Liverpool-
video by talking about psychological help for United fans. You end the video by asking them to slit their wrists. Fuck off, man. Seriously.
Indians are very hypocritical in terms of psychological health, man. That's always.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Anyway,
don't,
my prediction.
Don't make me that. Like,
Chill, man, chill.
Just kidding, guys. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, my predictions for the season would be I think okay, Liverpool are favorites to defend their title, but I really hope the City can win the title. It cannot have this again. Once in my lifetime, I've seen them win, and that I would like to die before that happens. And I don't want to die young. So yeah, I'd not want Liverpool to win anything for that matter this season. I don't have.
We're talking about City, but go on.
Yeah, I know, but I still hate you guys now. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, I think thank you so much. We do not often do a deep dive into a club's functioning, into a manager's philosophy and ideology. anyone who follows football, forget it if they are City fans or they aren't City fans or if they're Pep fans or they do not like Pep for that matter. I think this is a very I think for the next Liverpool City game, I think we definitely need to have you and Steele on. Have a 30-minute, one-on-one, and one of us can.
Weeks, right?
Yeah, I think it's not too far away. So I think that'll be fun and that'll be interesting. Once again, thank you so much, guys, for joining us here. I hope the three of you are doing well and keep doing well, and we'll hope that the season is at least fun for most of us, at least, and it goes the race that has died a very slow, painful death in November, December. As has happened in the last 3 seasons now, in that sense. Even when Liverpool got close, I don't know. I mean, always felt they were playing catch up. So let's hope it's a better title race this season, and let's hope City and Liverpool teams. Chelsea.
Okay, enough about City and Liverpool. Just end it now.
No, of course. Come on. We cannot be like that. I think those are the two best teams, and one has to accept that. Yeah. So. Thank you so much, Srinivas. Thank you so much, Sushil and Anurag.
Yeah, it's super fun to be on the show. I've been on camera, so yeah, super fun, and keep it up, great content. And I'm gonna do a shameless plug. Check out More Than a Game.
No. The plug comes from that as well. Before I ended the video, So Srinivas is the founder for More Than a Game, and guys, it's a fantastic website.
We've all worked for him.
Yeah. So I continue to work for him. So he's bossman in that sense. Yeah. So I think MTAG, please do give it up the link on the video description as well. So that people can have a look at the fantastic work people are doing on MTAG. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you soon. And Sushil and Anurag, as ever, thank you so much, guys. And to all of you viewers, please do share the video. Some real quality content coming up on the channel in the coming days as well. So we hope to have you again in the future, and thank you so much for watching.